Good evening. This is the Raleigh Finance Committee meeting of September 30th at 7:19 p.m. Call the meeting to order. And our first order of business is to review the minutes of September 23rd. No, September 9th.
September 9th, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I've got a
Typo.
out of date. Okay, so let's try September 9th.
Is 3 and 4 the same? Also on item number 2. Parks and Recreation Committee.
Oh, I see what you
Before it
mean.
has the words "and advertising" and rental of the parks facilities. I don't know if they
Jeez.
mean the same.
It looks the same.
Hmm.
And in my notes from the meeting, is there a community gardens?
Yes.
Gardens, yeah, and that's missing from here, because I know we talked about it. I think Debbie talked about it. Maybe we should add that, because that was one of the 13, I believe.
That's the agriculture.
Yeah,
Oh, that's the agricultural?
Yes.
Right.
The agricultural commission.
Okay, so it's not a separate.
So it's not a separate
Okay.
one, no.
I think they're a little different though, Dennis. If you look at the wording again, number 3, that's saying that it would pay for the management and operations of improvements and maintenance of the facilities.
Yeah.
And number 4 is for the Recreation Committee to pay for the expenses incurred to hold community events and recreational
Yeah,
programs.
they have 2.
There's a difference
Okay.
there.
All
They
right.
have
Now,
2.
do they have two?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that actually came straight from the town meeting warrant.
Yeah, they have 2.
That section of minutes that I read.
Then there's just a small typo on 5. Said vice president should be vice chairman, I believe. Line 2, item 5.
Were you on page 5?
Page 3,
Oh,
item 5, line 2. You get name needed to be where her name was, vice
Oh, vice
chairman,
chair.
as opposed to president.
Yeah, I don't want to be president.
Thank you.
and let's see. I guess on page 3, excuse me, the last part of section 5, they used best business practice. Let's change that to used best business practice. Okay, any other comments?
Make a motion that we accept the minutes of the
Okay.
September 9th meeting as amended.
All right, have a motion.
I'll second it.
Second, any other discussion? Nope. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'll recuse myself, I was not in attendance.
Okay. All right. Moving on, review articles for the town meeting. And by the way, the town meeting is October 27th at 7:30 p.m. at the Pine Grove School. And we'd like as many people out there sitting there watching at home to come down and join us at the Pine Grove School. All right. Yeah, let's see. We'll go on to the first one that we need to do, which is Article 4. It's the $3,000 we added for payment to the town meeting.
I'll make a motion that we recommend that article.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion on it? That's the typical town cost. Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Recommends. Article 5, $1,965 for the hydraulic elevator for compliance, going from a key to a switch and having an intercom there.
I didn't know they had an elevator.
Yes, it's right up there.
Oh. Who used this in?
I used it with my
Oh.
daughter's mother-in-law. Sean did a
Hmm.
concert upstairs, and
okay.
she was in a wheelchair, and we used it to get her up there.
Peter, if we didn't have that, we wouldn't be able to use the auditorium.
Oh.
And as a matter of fact, the state, when it wasn't there, shut the auditorium down.
Oh, yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, I
Hmm.
remember that. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to ask a question on the explanatory note.
Yes.
Is it supposed to be a shop switch or a stop switch?
It's a, no, that came from the Alley Elevator. Broke
So,
down
yes,
and
they-
told me, I took exactly from what he said.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm wondering if they made a typo because I never heard of a shop switch, so.
I went over the whole system with them. We have to.
Well,
leave the key
a
out. We can't have
stop
keys
switch would
anymore.
just be like an emergency stop as opposed to, and I've never heard of a shop switch either, but I would imagine it would be to turn it on and off
Well, yeah.
as opposed to emergency off,
well,
stop
now we
switch.
have
Well, I'll get a
key system.
clarification. I don't know. The key
Okay.
is that we can't have,
You can't use the keys.
can't use
Right.
keys anymore.
Right. I'll make the recommendation, we recommend Article 5.
Okay, have a
Exactly.
motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second. Any other discussion? All in favor by aye? Aye. Moving on, Article 6. $5,000 to be used for the sprinkler heads.
Is this something they didn't realize they have to do?
They're correct. When they, we had already set the budget, and Pam Jacobson, the library director, was notified that under the fire code, the sprinkler heads have to be tested every 10 years, and they've been in the building for 10 years, so
I to believe.
that went out, yeah, and it's essential. It's an emergency issue.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I just,
Yeah, she felt badly about it,
Yeah.
and otherwise she'd be before you for a reserve fund transfer.
I'll make the motion, we recommend that
Okay.
article.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second. Any other discussion on it? It's basically a fire safety issue.
So
All
why
in
does
fa-
it cost $5,000 to test the sprinklers? Is that?
The sprinkler company is the one that told us that's what they're charging us.
Oh.
So it's,
It's not cheap to do those.
no.
No, there's like
There's a
143
pile of heads
sprinklers.
in there. That's a big building.
You have
Right.
to check each one.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion accepted. We recommend. On to Article 7. $777. This basically is when regular time employee changed to a salary position. They forgot the 39 hours of vacation pay. Let's call for a vote, then we can discuss it if necessary. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, okay. Any discussion on it? Okay. It's good, because I don't want to mess with the treasurer. All in favor, say aye. Aye. She might withhold our
Your salary.
salary.
Sorry. Yeah, that big salary that we all get.
With bonus. Okay, Article 8, $129. It's basically a budgeting error that there's a shortfall. Do I have a motion to accept?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
2 seconds, okay. Any discussion, any question? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Article 9. $3,603 for the ag tech. It's a revised assessment. Of course, those things very seldom go down, but to have a motion to,
I'll make that motion.
okay, have a motion, do I have a second?
A second.
You have a second, any discussion on it? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, I think that's, everybody said aye, so. Okay, Article 10, $10,000 to be added to the veterans' benefits. Again, it's one of those things that veterans move into the area, and we are duty-bound to pay part of their benefits. Have a motion?
How many veterans are there that are using these benefits?
We don't know.
You know, how many in the past?
It's not something they tell us.
So you don't know that either, Dave?
Well, I am aware that there's probably about 5 or 6, but we can't, due to privacy law, we can't really review the cases or the nature of how their benefits are derived, operating budget, there's fuel assistance, there's Medicare reimbursements that can range from medical appointments to prescription medications and other ancillary type costs that fall under the state law that provides veterans benefits. 75% of the cost will be reimbursed the following year by the state. So essentially, the town has to pay 25% of the overall cost and get reimbursed.
Are these veterans benefits for employees of the town of Raleigh who are veterans, or
No.
just people living in town? that are
Any
veterans?
resident
Live in town.
that lives in town that is a veteran who qualifies and its spouses as well.
Okay.
So I think the age spectrum now, due to a lot of military activity over the past 15 to 20 years, the age group, and so if somebody's laid off from a job, maybe a younger person, they could qualify. The spouse of someone, that was a veteran, the other surviving spouse, they would qualify.
Okay, so it's not all veterans.
Depend on
it's just
income.
certain ones that qualify.
Yes, property, wealth. So
Okay.
it can range. Like I said, there could be a fuel assistance, an operating budget, just to support yourself, and all the medical expenses and things like that. So it's a wide spectrum of benefits, and the veterans agent is the responsible party for setting that, and they determine it. The
Okay.
town cannot get involved in that.
Yeah.
They determine how much money to put in?
How much that the veteran applicant could receive, and what kind of benefits they receive. And they approve all the expenditures. And we perform, I guess, the ministerial process of processing all those bills and paying for them out of this account that we have here. But we wouldn't be able to look at case files and things like that and question some of that stuff. I mean,
Goes through the veterans agent in Ipswich.
Okay, can I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
I have and a second. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Recommend that. Article 11.
That's the one we asked for.
Right. This
I'll
is-
make a motion, we recommend this article.
We will let you do that. Have a second.
A second.
Okay, any discussion on why we shouldn't get our money back? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We recommend that, okay. Article 12. This is all the police funds transfer. And the only thing is that 12,000 is the prompt payment reimbursement. Okay. Have a motion to accept Article 12.
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Recommend Article 12. Article 13. This is the refund of the ladder truck to be put against the principal. Have a motion to accept this.
So moved.
Have a motion, have a
Second.
second? Have a second, any discussion? Questions, concerns? No?
When
All
is the early payment due from an early payment? The town is due an early payment refund on a new ladder truck from the vendor.
Right, we're paying for the entire truck rather than on a monthly or yearly installment basis. So in that case, we get a refund. And then that refund will be applied towards the principal. Does that answer your question, or
Yeah,
makes it even worse?
well, I guess, so this is.
Because we're paying for the truck up front.
Yeah.
They're giving us a discount, basically.
Hmm.
And so we're applying the discount to.
Back to the truck.
Back to the
Back to
loan.
the truck,
Okay.
so that it reduces the payments for the next 5 years by whatever the amount would be.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. I don't think I called for a
No, you
motion. Okay.
No, we had a motion, didn't we?
Well, I
Mr. Roy
stopped.
made the motion and Mrs. Emery seconded.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? Glad someone's paying attention. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Article 14, 25,000 to replace ramp stocks and gangways. And I think we have here exactly what they're doing. I don't know if anybody had a chance to look at the selectmen's meeting of last night, but it's fairly well explained. Basically that the docks and everything else are in very poor condition, and they really need to be replaced. They want to replace them now because the docks can be fabricated by the dock builders over the winter and ready for April 1st when they want to put the new docks into the river or so. But this is the ramp stocks and gangways. I personally haven't been down, but Dave has, and I think at last night's meeting he attested to their less than desirable condition or worse. So.
Is this something that could have been brought up at the annual town meeting?
I brought
The
this up.
capital?
Right.
I brought this up last night because I went down and looked at the docks yesterday because my concern was that this could be a capital expense item.
Mm-hmm.
And the harbor master did give us a number of items when we looked at when the team looked at the capital budget. And at that time, we gave him, because of the various amounts involved, we gave him the 17,000 to do the dock area, which he did get. And, but over the summer, and when they put the new docks out, they realized that they're in terrible shape. In fact, if you go down and take a look at them, there's one gangway that goes down to the harbor master boat that's actually rotted completely out, and it's totally unsafe. They all were built back in the 70s, and the guys, volunteers, come in and fix them and put new boards on them and new hinges, and they're just, it's just to the point where when I went down on them, and they rock and roll, and the place is very busy during the summer.
Can I ask you a question?
It's a, what?
No, I'm sorry, I
Okay.
just wanted to mention this. So does the fees that they collect will that pay for, is this something that, that taxpayers, are gonna be paying, from
All the
town
fees that
for-
the harbor master gets, he gets back 50% of them to put towards the running of the harbor master office and the docks and stuff down there. The other 50% goes to the treasury for the general fund.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering how viable the operation is in itself.
Well, they run it on a shoestring, and they do it with a lot of volunteer work. They put the docks in and out in the spring and the fall with volunteers. The volunteers, he buys materials, but the volunteers make repairs and so on and so forth. So it's a lot like a cemetery department. It's running a shoestring, and we need to put a new shoe down there, basically, and they'll keep it running and do the work on it. And basically, in looking at it, I was looking towards putting this off until spring, like Dennis mentioned, and put it in the capital budget, but it's a safety issue, and there's a lot of kids that go on and off the boats down there. The place is very big. I'm not a boater. I don't use the docks. I haven't been down here in a couple of years, so I didn't realize how much they've deteriorated. But from the ones that are damaged, we can only guess what's damages underneath the ones that are out there because of the age and the number of repairs they've gone through. So it seemed to be an emergency situation that we want to fix before someone gets hurt down there or before we have an accident, rather than wait until something happens. So at that point, my suggestion last night was that because of the emergency nature and public safety nature of the system down there, that we take money from the stabilization fund. And the original request was for $35,000, and the harbor master seemed to be pretty sure that I asked him if he could reduce it to $25,000, so we don't take too much out of the stabilization. And he basically assured us that he figured he could, and if they can't, they'll do as much as they can and then come back in the next budget to finish off. But at least it'll make it safe for the summer. And the timing really was, because we asked him if he could wait until the special and get them done after the special town meeting in May. But this is like ordering a fire engine or ordering anything else. It takes time, and the time you order them, it takes a lot of time in the spring. If we order them in April, there's no way they're going to be in before probably the fall, because we've got to order them from a company that certifies and makes docks. I mean, it isn't something that. One suggestion was that maybe we'll just buy the materials and construct the docks ourselves and save some money, but the selectmen's attitude was, well, now these need to be certified safe for public safety purposes and for law purposes. And they need to be properly made. They can maintain them once they're in, but they need to be properly constructed, and they should be good for, 10 to 20 years with the new materials they use now and so on and so forth. So the Board of Selectmen voted to recommend $25,000 for the project. And we felt it was a safety issue, and it really needed to be done, and it come out of the blue. It wasn't something that, okay.
It's an extremely busy area. Sit in my yard and watch the boats go up and down constantly.
And they can build these this winter and have them ready for the spring.
He's putting the bids together the information together, working with the town administrator, and assuming that the article passes the town meeting very shortly thereafter, we'll go out to bid, and then they should be ready by spring. I mean, barring.
I just want to know if the fees themselves pay for the operation of the marina.
No, we appropriate some money.
Well, I know, but
I'm not sure what the total fees.
Yeah.
It's like the cemetery. The cemetery uses half, and we use half, and the budget gets the other half. So this is over and above. There's no way they can afford to do this out of the fees. they use the fee money to fix them along the way and do those kinds of things, so. And as well as pay some, I'm sure, some salaries and,
One other article that he was going to bring up at the annual town meeting, special at the annual, is he's gonna look at the fee schedule, the various fees that they have, and make some adjustments to those also.
their fees and fines.
And the other issue that we had with it is that he generally puts the docks in April 1st. Now, boats are generally lined up on the street waiting for them to hit the water. So if you tried to go to the annual town meeting and do it, you're never gonna get them in by April 1st. We'd be lucky if we can get them ordered this year so that they will be ready for the spring. Because this meeting is October 27th, and then we gotta go through the bidding process. So, and I'm sure, once you get closer to spring, that whoever builds them is gonna be right out straight. So-
Dave, it says here that the docks were purchased in the 70s, so we're looking at like 40-plus years that we've had these present docks.
Yes.
Oh, they've probably been, in that 40 years, they've probably been rebuilt board by board over that, over
Okay,
that
because
time,
when
but.
you said that with the new docks would last 10 or 20 years.
Well,
I was
they're all
saying
made out of plastics and, you
I was
know,
gonna say,
whole
they
different
use
materials.
Composite materials probably would
Yeah,
last
they're
longer than anything else. you would
Altogether
have.
different. than
Any
what-
rotting,
Right,
and it would
so,
last a lot longer.
yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
sure every year they put them in, they've done work on them.
Yeah,
And one other thing he mentioned to us last night was the flotations. Back when those were built in the 70s and 80s, they used styrofoam, basically, the styrofoam billets.
okay.
And those are all starting to break up and crack and
Yeah.
come apart. That's why when Dave mentioned he was walking on the docks and they were rocking, it's because of the unstabilization of that ballast. Today, they used a polyethylene, almost a tank-shaped thing full of high-density foam, so that they're not as susceptible to the weather and the salt water and the actual movements of the docks themselves. They don't break up like the styrofoam does.
I'll go back to an old question I had several weeks back, several meetings back, excuse me for my voice. Do the departments have a capital plan, like a 4-year, 3-year capital plan, so you can kind of foresee some of these things coming so that we don't get them, you know, at special town meetings in October? I mean, because a lot of these things, if we saw them in the plan, we could kind of, you know, appropriate the money.
This year here, we put the team, we got a capital team, and we got, last year at this time, we got requests from all the departments. We put together a 5-year plan, and it was the
Actually,
first time we really did it.
These
And
docks were on
In
year
there.
3 of that plan.
yeah,
Okay.
We didn't realize how much they were, how bad they were. We gave him the 15,000 to do the wharf, because that's got some rot in it too, and if that collapses, we'll be damming the river, basically. So, we wanted to make sure.
But it was on a
that was
plan,
done.
so.
yeah, it was on the request, and what we mentioned last night, and we'll be telling the department heads, is if you have things that you feel need to be prioritized, make sure you let us know, because that wasn't really indicated on his list. It was just a list of things he needed. So any department that has a high priority, we need to, especially some of those departments like that we really don't interact too much with. They do their own thing and so on and so forth. So yeah, we're honing in the process and developing it so that each year it should get better. And we're going to be sending out the forms very shortly and going through it again for next year's budget. And because each year there's going to be probably some new things that come onto it and so on and so forth. So, and a lot of it depends how much money we have available. We try to take a look and see how much money we can borrow, because we basically do it for the most part through borrowing 5-year bonds, and try to give some things to every department if we can, because everybody needs capital items of one sort or another, or most departments do. So we try to prioritize it and go through the list, and this is one that kind of hit us in the back of the head we weren't expecting, and we were surprised to see it ourselves, but I think it's needed. And in the scheme of things, moving forward, I think we've learned a lesson from it. It'll be a better process next year, and we just need to get this done.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, can I have a motion to
I'll make a motion.
recommend? Okay, have a motion, have a second?
I'll second.
Second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We recommend Article 14. Okay, Article 15. This is the one that Mary Beth Weiser last week talked about, the $245,000. Now, before any discussion, is there a motion to accept?
They take the 60,000 out for the paving.
It's a
That's the,
separate one, I believe.
yeah,
Oh, it's a separate one.
It's a separate article.
right, it's Article 17.
Yep, okay.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we
Okay.
recommend Article 15.
Okay, yes.
You have a motion, have a second. Any discussion on Article 15, the 250,000, 245,000? Okay, no discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, recommend Article 15, Article 16.
For the record, we discussed this last week, that's why we're not discussing it again.
Right, but if
You know,
you have
yeah.
questions,
Yeah, I know.
Article 16, 24,074 for the labor treatment operator and an additional hour for the part-time.
I'll make a motion that we recommend this article.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Any concerns? Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 All right, we recommend Article 16. Article 17 is the paving. And again, this is one of those
Yep.
not to exceed type of a thing, and I don't know whether, let's see, 17.
I just have one, I guess, question. I don't have any problem pay for the parking lot because I think it needs it, but we're transferring money from the stabilization fund.
That's the water department.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
But I think when they put all that money in there, it was to keep the water rates in check while the treatment plant was being developed, and it was to offset any things that may interfere with the rate.
Right.
And I'm not sure that paving the parking lot would be something that would. I mean, you take $60,000 out of there, is that going to affect the water the commissioners from changing the rates? You know what I'm saying?
Not this year.
I mean, I don't think they factored $60,000 in for paving.
It was, they just put in their free cash, they had an abundance of free cash
Yeah.
that they put in the stabilization fund for an idea of purchasing the poly membrane filters on a sort of a graduated scale over time. So they wasn't one big hit to replace them. Additionally, if there was any capital things or things that need to be done that they could fund out of here and not raise the rates for.
Yeah.
Obviously, this isn't on the scale of like a water main replacement
Yeah.
program, which would be like $1 million.
But this was never discussed,
No,
though,
it
I
was
don't
never
think, right?
discussed during the budget season.
Yeah.
I really wasn't aware of the condition, that the condition of the parking lot was as bad as it was. I usually just kind of park.
I mean, the highway
cars.
department's paved it down there, and they filled in all the holes. It looks, passable for the winter, and, I don't see that this is gonna get done before at least next year sometime.
It won't get done till spring. But they have some kind of an order from the Conservation Commission or something that they have to fix where they dumped.
Well, part of the
Well, that's not
grading
part of
involved
this,
is
Yeah,
in
it is.
compliance
Right.
with a long-standing
Yeah.
conservation. But
Yeah.
going back to the what the problem has been down there, because of a lack of superintendent leadership, this is one of those items that just has gotten put off and put off and put off. And the board's wanted to do something with it down there, and it needs to be done. The new superintendent, rather than doing just a piecemeal part of the front of the building, which is what the water board originally wanted to do, she said, let's take a look at the whole parking lot, grade it right, take care of it. In addition, she's met with the Conservation Commission to try and resolve situations gone back at least a couple of years on some dumping that took place down there and some runoff and stuff like that. So she's trying to correct all these things and move ahead with it at this point. So it's, you know, whether the money gets taken out of their stabilization fund at this point or they add it to next year's budget, this gives her a chance to get a heads up and move ahead on it. And at this point, there doesn't seem to be any indication there's a problem with the rates, because they're still determining. I mean, at this point, she come down last week. They've only spent like 12% of their budget so far. It's 25% of the year has gone by. So she's going to have a handle on what their actual expenditures are. The last couple of years, it's been a lot of guesswork and guesstimations and so on and so forth, particularly with the new treatment plant. So it's just a matter of, as she's settling in there, she's looking at what needs to be done. And this is one of those projects that she would like to get done and get out of the way while she's doing everything else. So,
But it would seem like they must have over budget had some, you know, extra if they have all this kind of money that they have.
well, there was a lot, whatever money they had was
Stabilization
put into the stabilization fund.
Yeah,
And like I
so-
say,
It's like over 300,000 just for these items alone. How much do they have left
it
in
was
there?
like 500,000, I think.
I think so,
It was
yeah.
around 500,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been we'll freely admit that it's been guesswork up until now. This is the first year that I can say, as we go into the next budget season, that we're going to get a pretty good handle on what actually is happening over there in terms of the budget and funding and how things are going. So we're kind of rolling with the punches here. They have the money. They'd like to get the project done. It does. You know, there is patches over there. I don't know if they'll get plowed up during the winter.
Probably would.
So
It's, you know, it's a lot of temporary fixes over there that hopefully this will take care of. And it's just something, if they don't do it now, it's gonna appear in next year's budget. So they have the money, there's enough money in the stabilization to deal with it without jeopardizing anything else. And they'd like to move forward with it, so.
Well, that can conceivably stop any increases in the future if they have money, right? In the
Well, I mean, if
stabilization fund
If
like
you
that,
folks
from,
remember
keep on-
last year, there was a physical team put together.
Yeah.
It consisted of the town treasurer, the town assessor, the town accountant, the town administrator,
Mhm.
and several representatives from the Board of Selectmen and the water department. And we actually put together a budget for them at that point. And there was some considerable reductions in some of the line items. And we actually increased the number of line items so that we could keep track of the various categories. Before it was maintenance, period. It would be, everything would be thrown into it, including furniture, which was kind of what triggered this whole operation. When we got to the end of that budget, we found out we had approximately $500,000 extra money that they wanted to keep. And the physical team said, no, you're gonna put it into the stabilization fund, because we're building a $12 million treatment plant, and we don't know what we might run into with those costs up there. And there was some question about the power membranes, how much they were gonna cost, and we heard at one point it was $1 million to replace them, and all kinds of different figures that were floating around that nobody had any handle on. So this year, when we come in to do the budget, at least we have a handle that we can get a hold of and look at and say, okay, you used this much fuel. We appropriated this much money for it, but that's over budget, so we can drop that back down again. And items like that came along. So we're right now kind of working into that budget as we go along. This year we'll have a better handle. Next year we'll even be better than that, because we'll have the treatment plant online. And we'll know what the costs are for that too. Right now, we're guessing what the electrical costs are gonna be. We're guessing
Right.
if somebody's.
Well, but that guess of the 150,000 and the guess of the chemicals was part of the budget that the water department presented last year, going from an 8-hour operation to a 12-hour operation, which they are doing because that treatment plant really has to run close near 24/7. It's not an on-off operation. So the supervisor has staggered the operators to increase the amount of time that the plant is online up to, we'll say, the 12 hours. And that's where that estimate of 150,000 was the estimate that they presented in their budget, and the same thing with the chemicals. So, and again, it's an estimate until we get, or they get figures as far as what it really is going to cost to, run the plant.
And that was my point, is the $60,000 to, it's outside of the plant operation. I mean, do we have a solid handle on what the costs are? Not a solid, but as best as we can on the operation of the water treatment plant before we start going out doing other things like paving the parking lot, which needs to be done. Is the $60,000 able to be taken out of stabilization fund without coming back and say, hey, we need $250,000 for the electrical instead of the $150?
She's looked at,
The superintendent has come up with
Yeah.
that figure.
she's looked at the figures and she's gone through the budget, and she feels confident that the money that, with the appropriations that were done in the other articles, between manpower and chemicals and electrical costs, that there's sufficient funds to run the treatment plant to the end of, to June 30th. So that at this point, and because of her budget, looking at the budget to this point where they've only spent 12% of their total budget in the first quarter of the year, which it should be up around 25%, because of lack of manpower. There's all kinds of issues going on there, that she feels strongly that she has sufficient funds to get through without coming back for any more transfers. At the special town meeting in the spring. Now, if some kind of emergency can develop, that may change, but she feels that, in other words, if she can get this park, she feels, and the board up there feels, that if they can get this parking lot issue taken care of, funded now, they can do that in the spring and get that thing done and cleared away, rather than trying to carry it over into next year's, but it's gonna come up somewhere. And
Yeah,
they
and
feel
even
they have
then, we'll say
sufficient-
if it goes through at the town meeting and they have to, write up an RFQ for it and get all of that, you're into the season where all the asphalt plants shut down. So now you're into the spring. By that time, Mary Beth's going to have a better handle on what it's going to cost to run the plant, and at that time they might decide, hey, we can't afford to do the complete paving. We just might have to just pave the front or so. So it's right now it's an educated guess until they get better numbers.
It's a situation, pay me now or pay me later. I mean, they have the money, they feel they have sufficient reserves to do this, and I feel confident that she has a handle on what she's doing, rather than, prior to this, I don't think we had a lot of confidence on what they were doing up there, but I personally, after talking to her for many hours at this point, feel that she has a handle on it, she will do the job correctly, and she has the money to do it. Let's get it done, and because they got a whole host of issues they're going to be dealing with up there in the next year or two, and this is something they can get done and work on through the winter and be prepared to go out to bid first thing in the spring for. I think it'll be a real benefit to them to get it done and get it out of the way. If it doesn't pass, then so be it.
When we did the budget last year, we put almost 600,000 in that we had in the stabilization on top of 300 something the year before. Unfortunately, at the time, there was an acting water superintendent. He was trying to just work on trying to estimate what the water treatment plan was. So other capital needs of the department weren't a priority at the time. Last February and March, when we were trying to put together this budget. So I think, had there been some foresight to think about this particular project at the time, that would have just come out of, been an article at the annual town meeting, and we would have put in an equivalent, 60,000 less into the free cash, from the free cash into the stabilization fund. So I do think they have a comfort level that they have the money. I know that they do have a lot of money there. They have to hold on to it and continue to put in for it. But
One of
it's
the other
either now
issues
or
that-
later.
That cropped up with the stabilization fund when we asked them to do that last year was that the treatment plant was going to be running, according to the schedule, the milestone schedule, would be running in 2 physical years. Now, they hadn't budgeted for the first physical year. So we're in 14 now, it would have been 12. So that, and that actually didn't happen because there were delays getting the plant up and running. So that kind of went by. So that extra funding that we were setting that money aside for didn't need to be spent at that point. And that was one of their big concerns, was that they would be running in 2 physical years. They'd get it online and running in the first physical year, and then it would cross over into the second one. So that there's probably extra money in that account at this point because of that. So,
Does the water treatment plants, I don't know, but I'm just wondering if, is there a type of a guarantee? What happens if something happens, major catastrophe, and it breaks down? Is that possible?
well, there's certain
from,
warranties. As an example, the Paul membranes. They're warranted this year until, actually next year,
April.
until April
April,
1st. And if something, and that's actually one of the items she has here is 24,000. And that's just to cover just in case something happens to one of the membranes. It costs $12,000 to have Paul come out and show up at the treatment plant to do any work out there. You have to pay their airfare and their motel and hotel costs. When they came out the last time, they came from Alaska. And we had to pay $12,000 to have them come and do the work. So it's not inexpensive. It really isn't.
Does towns have their water treatment plants insured or anything, though? I'm just wondering.
Definitely. Oh, of course.
So we.
I'm not sure you can, you're gonna have issues, you're gonna have maintenance costs.
Mhm.
A single membrane is $21,000, and you notice in the article that she actually set aside $21,000 this year to buy a membrane to put on the shelf. But her thought is that going forward, in about 10 years, we may need to replace them. So if you do one a year for the next 10 years, you've got them on the shelf, and you'll spread that cost out rather than having a big, huge chunk come in at 1 year at a time.
Yeah, it wasn't because the membrane, that's normal wear and tear, but are there other things that, besides that
Well,
could happen?
Well,
You
she'll have
have
the
to do
maintenance,
maintenance.
he's gonna have the maintenance contract will be
Yeah.
to handle normal maintenance, and I'm sure that if maintenance is maintenance, and if we have to buy parts, then we'll have to buy parts, but I mean, it's in a brand-new plant for $12 million, I'm guessing that the first year or two, we better not have any problems. I
I'm
mean,
sure-
nothing's guaranteed, but
There's
I mean,
definitely a
it's.
warranty on it. I'm not
Yeah,
sure
there's
what-
warranties on everything.
Yeah.
There is, like, they're coming up on 30-day maintenance of some of the, pumps, that maintenance might be just, oiling or checking this, that, or the other thing. So there is maintenance, even though, there's a warranty, of maybe 1 year, 2 years, whatever, on various items in the plant. But it's just like your car. If you have to perform certain maintenance things for the warranty to be valid.
Yeah, like change the oil.
Yeah, or put oil in it.
Important.
I mean, over time, it's gonna be expensive to run that, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I mean, the days of just pumping water out of the ground are gone. And it's something that, but like I say, I think for the first time in a long, long time, we've got a person in charge down there who seems to have a handle on it, has familiarity with this, and she's, she's convinced me at this point, until she does something wrong, that she knows what she's doing, and she has the best interests of the town at heart at this point, and she's certainly putting the time and the effort in. And, I'm, at this point, as a selectman, I'm more than happy to support what she feels she needs, because that's how much confidence I've developed with her in terms of the short time she's been here, and the information she's given us, and the meetings she's attended with the fiscal team and the Board of Selectmen, and, meetings just one-on-one here in the office with their various issues. So, but from the selectmen's point of view, we're recommending it, and we would hope that you would, and just we can move on to other things. I think one of the things that's been discouraging going to water board meetings is the fact that they've gotten hung up on little issues like hot topping and clean vehicles and things like that, when they have huge issues to deal with. And I kind of feel the same way here, that if we can give them the money for this, she can work on this during the winter in her spare time, when things will be slowing down once the plant gets going, and then she can spend the bulk of her time, and next budget season will be spent on the bigger items and maintenance for the plant, and personnel issues and things like that she's going to need to spend time on, because we'll probably be looking for some additional personnel in the next budget, but that's still to be determined. But I mean, we need to put some of these things aside so we can move ahead, and this is one of those issues that I've been critical of the water board for getting hung up on, and I just feel that we need to push this forward, get it done, let them work on it, and I have confidence that she'll do a good job with it.
Okay, any other questions? We have a motion to recommend Article 17.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, have a motion, have a second.
A second.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Article 18, I don't
Larry,
think,
I just have a
Yes.
question though.
sure,
Should this say Finance Committee under Article 17 also?
Yeah, that's.
Right.
Sorry,
Like it
it's
has.
just a typo. It's not.
Okay, I
it's-
just wanted to
Yep.
ask.
I
Right.
noticed it myself right here.
Okay.
and then Article 18, do we really have to recommend that, since there's no,
No.
okay. Article 19 then. 208,986 for the transfer of funds from basically moving the Lee Field from Brad Street to wherever, Veterans Field.
Yeah, I met with
I
the
think-
CPC committee the other night, Thursday night, I don't know what night it was, but
Yeah, last Thursday.
whatever night it was, yeah, you were
I was
there. Basically, it's money that was already appropriated, and all we're doing is we've made the determination due to the costs of construction that it's no longer feasible to build the previously approved baseball field at Brad Street. And we're gonna build it hopefully behind Pine Grove School. And at the same time, in conjunction with the article previous to that up at Eris Park, that we will move the soccer field from behind Pine Grove School, which will be taken because of the baseball field construction, and move that up to Eris Park. So it's just a matter of moving the money from one project to another because of the inability or the undesirable nature of the land up there to follow through on the original.
And they were in favor of it.
They were in favor, yeah, they voted for it.
I'll make the motion then.
Okay, have a motion?
Dave, how do they know the number? I mean, do they have an engineering firm or something come up?
Number for,
The 208,986.
that's the money that's left over from the original, we originally appropriated 225, was it?
Yeah.
And we spent some on engineering and land assessment costs for the, so that's why it's down from the original appropriation of 220 or 225 to 208. So it's just the money that's left
Yeah, I
over
think
there.
it's 225.
And it appears, from a layman's point of view, that the construction of the baseball field on an already built construction, soccer field, will be a lot cheaper than bringing in dirt and everything else we're gonna do there. And if we do construct the soccer field up at Harris Park, it's a wooded lot, but it's flat. And, we'll have to bring in some soil, et cetera, to grow grass, but, and if at this point, if this gets approved, then we'll hire an engineer to come in and tell us exactly what the costs are gonna be as part of the funding for that, to do those two projects.
Will there be an explanatory note put to this article on the bottom I see?
Yeah.
Like the other ones, it hasn't been,
I didn't.
we just put something in there.
Time. I knew you heard the story before, and it was going to be it tonight. Yeah, we're still working on this.
Okay.
So that will be essentially a summary of what Dave just said will be put in there.
Okay, any other questions? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any other questions after the second? Okay. All right, all in favor? Article 19. Article 19 is recommended. Aye.
Aye.
Article 20, transfer 15,000.
This here is a state law requirement. If we're putting, the Girl Scout land has to have a conservation restriction administered by a non-profit outside group. In this case, this is Greenbelt has agreed to provide that for $15,000, similar to what we did at Brad Street. We got the Greenbelt, the Audubon, we got anybody else, or as trustees of reservations or whatever. It's one of those kinds of groups. Not us, we're not allowed to, we need an outside. So they will come in, assess the land, and then they'll maintain the conservation restriction to make sure that,
Is this a one-time payment?
yeah.
I'll make a motion that we recommend Article
Okay.
20.
Have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor of recommending? Aye.
Aye.
Article 21, transferring 13,667.50 cents.
Yeah, this was just a quick explanation. The Jewel Mill up on Route 1 near Central Street. Originally, a number of years back, 2003, I guess it was an article to give them money out of the CPC funds for historical renovation of that historical structure. They came in looking last year for money, and ultimately they decided with the historical restrictions, et cetera, was going to be placed on it, that they withdrew their request for town funding, and they were funding the renovation on their own through other private sources. So this just merely puts that money that they had left, they had spent some previously, and there was $13,667.50 left that they don't need, so it goes back. This will put it back into the Community Preservation Fund to be reused for another project.
Okay, do I have a motion to recommend?
So moved.
A motion? And second?
A second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Recommend, and I think that takes care of all the articles.
Can I just make one comment, Larry,
Sure.
before you adjourn, that at the special town meeting on the 27th, we need a quorum of 100 voters in order to conduct a meeting. And we certainly encourage anybody watching to, on that night, don't sit home. Please come to the meeting. If we get a quorum and can get going at 7:30.
And bring a friend.
Bring a friend. If we need 100 to start the meeting, so it's essential that we, in a lot of years, we spend a half an hour, 45 minutes waiting to get the last one or two voters to straggle in. So if we can get people there at 7:30, there's no reason why we probably won't be out of there by 8 or 8:30 at the latest. So, no, at 8:30, 9 o'clock at the latest. So it's not a long night, but most of this is pretty routine, and
Right.
it should move along pretty good. Not that many articles. So I just encourage people to be at the meeting, come out and help the town to get its business done. We need them.
And I would encourage the voters to come and vote for their docks and ramps so that they can go out in their boats by April 1st.
Right.
So that should help the quorum. You always need a couple articles to help the quorum, that should do it.
Okay, before we adjourn, we need a next meeting date.
I'm assuming that would be town meeting?
Now that, normally it's a formal, but I think the last time it was a informal one that we really didn't have one. Only because I have to take the minutes and I don't want to, but, you know, if you want to have a formal meeting then, that's fine.
What's the purpose of the formal meeting? I mean.
Well, just in case something comes up
Okay.
beforehand.
Did you need to make a last minute vote on something or something?
Well, that should be subject to, if they call us for something, right?
I don't know what you're saying.
Well,
Well,
why do we have to sit, we just wait to see if we do need
No, we
one?
meet at the town meeting.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but if we have to come in before, then we can,
Then we would call a meeting
Yeah.
before if there was something. But at town meeting, sometimes we have to make a vote.
Hmm.
Not often, but once in a
All right,
while we
so
have.
Let's have a meeting at town meeting.
okay,
Or Town meeting.
next meeting, you want to put it at 7:15 on October 27th?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that ensures at least 5 people will be there, or 6, or
Yep.
7. Okay. If nothing else, we can decide when our next meeting after that will be. Okay,
Hearing no further business, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn.
all right, have a motion.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll see you at the town meeting.